In this video, we're gonna unbox and test out the Armstrong alloy system. They created this system, came out with this system to give a little bit lower price point to make sure that foiling can be accessible to all kinds of riders. And so the cool thing about this aluminum system is that it works with all your Armstrong foils. And so as you progress, and if you were to decide to progress out of the alloy mast and want to take your tail as well as your front wing and put it on a standard A+ carbon mast, or if you want to go to a performance mast, you know, you can do that. The nice thing about this is it saves a good amount of money, and I think that's a great thing for people who are kind of foil curious. You know, they want to go with one of the best brands in the industry, Armstrong, but they don't necessarily want to buy like the full carbon setup before they know if they like it or not. And so this is actually going to be the first test of this out here today. Army already did a video in terms of how to put this together. I'll show you my first time putting this together to see if it's as easy as promised. And then I have a beginner coming over who hasn't really foiled very much, and we'll put him to the test to see if this S1 setup is as friendly as what we like to recommend for people starting out, which is the CF line. The CF line carbon freeride has been a great one for us. At 1600 has been something that's been really nice and well received. This one right here is the S1 1550, which I think is gonna ride a lot like that 1600. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the components out. I'm gonna assemble it. I'll show you some of the assembly along the way, and then we're gonna take it out in the water and ride it. So they call it S1, which is step one. If you wanna learn how to wing or prone or wake behind the boat, you know, this is the first step that you'll take. So S1, step one, however you want. You'll see it still has like the nice Armstrong bag associated with it. Really the difference is slightly different tools. This has the S1 300, which I assume is pretty close to a CF 300. Let's look at the shape. Actually quite a bit different. This is a different shape. I haven't seen this one before. You know, if you look at this from a tail structure perspective, it's wide as a 300, so it's gonna give you the stability. It has a little bit of upturn, I guess, as we mount it. We turn it like this, a little bit of downturn on the edges. Probably rounded for a little bit more safety as you start to ride it. You can see the screws here are the titanium screws standard with the other tails that you have. In addition to this, let's check this out. We have the 1550. Take a look at this shape. It actually looks quite a bit different from the CF 1600. You know, we'll mount it this way, it'll ride this way down, so it has these little downturn nubs. So we're gonna take this out there and see how this shape does, you know, compared to, you know, again, what I think is kind of the gold standard right now is that CF 1600, and just see how this compares. And I'm gonna ride it. Hopefully Johnny's gonna get to ride it, and then we're gonna show you a newbie who's gonna ride it. Inside the box here is our mast. You know, the one that I got for this kit is probably the one that most wake foilers and prone foilers are going to use. This is 72 centimeter, and as you can see here, it actually follows a lot of the shape lines of the carbon mass. It's alloy, you know, just to give you a little bit lower price point. And then in addition to this, we have two pieces inside here. This actually holds the fuselage on the bottom. This little connection point. Screws all packaged up here nicely. We have the actual fuselage itself. You know, in this one it is 65 centimeters, it looks like, which is a good length. You know, I think you get to 70. I think 70 is a little long for wake and prone, but you can tell here it's an alloy material, sturdy material. I guess it's aircraft quality. Should be nice and sturdy, and you can always tell with Armstrong just the finish on these things is really, really nice. I'm not sure if that's coming, you know, up, but you can see like the screw insets and everything right there. So when you put this together, they also provide you with a little bit of special sauce that you put on as you connect it, so that your bolts handle themselves well and don't slip when you're out there. And I think that's going to be inside this package right here. There you go. So inside here, I have my alloy hardware, nice little package, as well as my goo. What do we call this? Goo. Maybe I shouldn't use the word goo, but you know, I think the question for people out there is, if again, if you're curious about foiling and you want to get started, you know, I think this is a great way to go. If you want to actually get out there and maybe get a longer one of these masts to test for a different discipline, or a shorter one, depending on what you want to do, I think it makes a lot of sense. So this is the base pad here. We assemble these different things, and I'm going to go ahead and do some assembly and we'll come right back. Okay, so as Army shows you, you got to take this little Teflon grease. This grease I had to do a little cut myself, you know, just to cut the very tip off, not a big deal. And then go ahead and put this into hold the base plate in place. Tighten it up nice and tight. You know, with this stuff you want it tight. Any type of looseness or rattling when you're riding is gonna be no bueno. If you're riding yourself in terms of like in your local neighborhood, you don't have to disassemble this each time. It's just something to watch for if you get a little bit of sand or something else in there. Other than that, you're gonna be in good shape. All right, next we gotta get the other stuff to put it on. So up top here we have a few more screws. I'm just getting used to this new system just because it's a little bit different than the old. And again, this aluminum mass, this is something just to kind of get you into the sport for a little less money, but still have all the benefit of having all the Armstrong design behind it. We have a center screw up here. We go ahead and seat this thing in here pretty well. Again, I put that little special sauce Teflon in there so it can hold, and then we go ahead and tighten that pretty well. And here I'm going to drop these guys in next. And you notice that there's washers on them, and plenty of spare washers are delivered with it. And go put a little Teflon on there. Hand tighten, but we're going to hand tighten firm. Want it to go in there, be nice and solid when we're riding. Brent, are you excited to be the beginner that's going to try this stuff out?
I am super excited, Tim.
That's great. That guy's on there. A little Teflon grease. And in she goes. That one went in way too easy. Now, interestingly, I think I put one screw in the wrong spot. I mean, I suppose that you should probably look at the instructions so you know which screw goes in. And I gotta tell you, you know, the interesting thing is, just from a pure ease of use, you know, it's pretty nice just having the mast pre-assembled for the carbon and the performance mast. But again, it's going to save you a good amount of money. So let's get it in here, get this thing all set up, and then we'll go ride it and see how it rides. I mean, that's the most important thing. And I think from a Armstrong perspective, you know, most everything I've ridden from them, I've really enjoyed. We're going to put this on the WKT 147. It's a board that we use for lessons. We actually don't stock it in terms of our store to sell because I find it to be too big. And basically people like it while they're starting, but they'll outgrow it just because of swing weight. And just with the price point on it being $13.50, you know, it's a little bit much for a beginner board. And so I stock the 122 and the 109 WKT, and I find that to be the right mix for at least what we like to recommend. Different shops around the country, they'll tell you what they like. That's what we like. Now, all three of these are nice and tightened. This little side one is nice and tight too. They gave me some alcohol pads. I'm gonna wipe off any extra Teflon grease. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and put the fuselage on here. And you know that the wider part is the front of the mast, the narrower part is the back of the mast. Go ahead and drop that in there. Ooh, that fits quite nicely. Did I grease this one?
This one you did.
Okay, that one I did. Let's grease this one. How's that feel getting that Teflon on your hand?
Oh, great.
You'll be sticking to the boat and everywhere else. Okay, give me that. Now don't worry, that's why we give it a little wipe with the alcohol pad to take it off. Put these things in here. For you, Minnie, you won't have to undo this probably ever again. Now I will tell you, on front wing and the back wing, you know, I don't think you have to take those off every time that you use it, but because the way the alloy goes together with the carbon, it is something that you're probably not going to leave throughout the season. You know, periodically take it off. But the cool thing is, as you can see on this fuselage, is that the fuse matches the actual sizes for all the different foils.
Okay.
So if you progress beyond the S1 and you're like, hey, Tim, I want to start ripping a little bit better, want something a little bit faster in terms of bringing it around, it's not going to be a problem. Okay, we got the mask done. Feeling pretty good about life now. We've done the initial assembly. Congratulations to us. I think now we're gonna go ahead and put the wings on. Okay, Armstrong always puts their screws in their front wing. It's a nice way for you to, as you build out your quiver, it's a nice way to go ahead and build a full set of extra screws. Whenever I travel anywhere, I'm always bringing extra screws, just in case I lose one or there's something that doesn't quite work out or it breaks. Pretty straightforward. Go ahead and, you know, as you put this, goes like this. I always put the holes up looking at you. We have little labels there, so hopefully you don't make a mistake. This front one goes on. Kind of the rule of thumb is if you have to work hard in terms of getting this in here, or if it gets hard, you're doing it wrong. It's not the gear, it's you. You have a personal issue. Put this on in here, then we have 2 other screws to do, and we're almost good to go. You can put a little Teflon on here too, just to protect everything. I don't think you have to Teflon every time, but don't take my word for it. You can Teflon your brains out if you'd like. I know in terms of when Army put his together in his video, he turned it on the side for the thumb screw. I find if I just hold that thumb screw as I'm putting it on with my thumb, it's pretty good, and then I can just go back down there and adjust it later if I need to. I usually tighten it from both sides. And then the tail, titanium screws, just like the other Armstrong tails. Again, unique shape for this. I'm excited to see how it rides. We'll see here in a second. I've told my buddy Brent here that if I like how it rides, it's his. If I don't like it, we'll get him a different set. Hope he likes it. Can't imagine he's not gonna like it, but you never know. I usually have this on a board, so I'm used to putting these things on upside down, which strangely is easier for me than doing it right side up. We're almost ready. We traveled all the way over here to ride. We're getting very close. So we have that all set. We're gonna take one of our alcohol pads. I was actually pretty neat along the way, so this is more for show. We're just gonna rub it, make sure that any of that Teflon that we put on there gets wiped away just so it doesn't create a mess. And there you go. Long trip done. Sorry it took so long, but yeah, this looks pretty sweet. I like the looks of it, Minnie. We'll go ahead and put it on the board and let's go see what it does. First ride on the alloy.
Tim, I like to call it aluminium. And I'm happy that Army is paying homage to aluminium.
He truly is. It feels pretty good, feels pretty light on the board. Let's see how this thing rides. Johnny, what's your first impression?
Feels pretty good. I bet this will ride nice.
Check out the tail. That's a S1 300.
Yeah.
So a lot less whale tail to it than you get on the CF 300.
Well, let's give it a try.
All right, let's go. What do you think?
This is the most stable foil known to mankind. It will never fall from the sky. Nice and steady, nice and slow, performs well, but super good for just learning and very predictable. It's good, solid.
That foil was a trip. That is that S1, that's a 1550 S1 from Armstrong with the, how do you say that?
Aluminium.
Aluminum. No?
Aluminium.
Aluminium.
No.
No?
Minimus.
That's right.
Minimus.
Minimus, way to go. I gotta tell you, that's a great, it is so stable. I mean, you saw that stuff. I felt like I could switch my feet on it. Thing just rides easy, you can carve it. I think it's gonna be a great learning wing. Super stable, predictable, you know, fun to ride.
Tim, we live in a world where there are a lot of instability, and even people, sometimes women, can be unstable. But that foil corrects it. It's the most stable foil known to mankind.
It is a stable foil, and basically this is Army stabilizing the world. One foil at a time. Thank you, Army. That was a fun ride. I enjoyed it. Recommend it for a beginner foil.
Recommend it. It has
Save you a little bit of dollars. And you can put the other Armstrong front wings. You don't have to go on the S1 as you progress. You can put on other foils onto the front. It felt pretty good. A little bit heavier than carbon, but not bad.
a little
not bad at all.
heavier, but you also don't get as much jittery. It demystifies a lot of things about foiling. So once you're on foil, it doesn't really want to lift out and breach. Once you have higher speeds, at lower speeds, it's not going to just drop out and lose your lift. So
yeah, I mean, that was crazy. You were wake surfing it. So it's staying so stable under the water that you could just put it at a level, set it, forget it. Good foil. Thanks, Minnie, for being our guinea pig. Appreciate it. He's taking this one home, so he'll enjoy that. All right, later. Woo.